Oops. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I'm just trying to figure out, having a little technical issue here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. On locals, I don't understand. I've already, hold on. Everybody on locals, if you're here, don't worry. I'll get this sorted out. Let's see. I got I've set, for some reason, I set the timing incorrectly, so I may have to not use the iPad. I know I'm walking you guys through technical support here, but I can't change the live stream schedule here. So I'm supposed to be doing it. I've already changed it once. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to technical support on the Freedom Comfy live stream, where I don't understand what happened here. And so let's see if that did it. I'm just trying to reset some stuff here on the stream. And we'll wait for a bunch of you to come in the stream anyways. It doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah, we're going to be good in 36 seconds. All right, disaster averted. And locals people, my apologies. I don't know what I did, but it's been a very, very long night of not very much sleep. And, you know, it is what it is. So I got a million different things. Oh, yeah, as I'm closing this down, I just want to wish you all first a very good morning and an amazing morning and the best Sunday morning of your life. At least I hope this one will be. I'm sure the last time we did this on a Sunday morning, it was probably, here we go. The locals people are back in and they're here. All right, locals people, we're here. Sorry about the technical support. Yeah, Beth, I know the time was wrong. The reason is because I'm an idiot. That's basically the only way to describe it. I'm just trying to do so much all at once. And we got this live event tomorrow for the book launch where we're all going to be getting together and seeing each other and all that sort of stuff. Still says 11 a.m. I don't know. You know what? I don't know what it's done, what I've done, whatever. But we're on here now. You can see me. I can see you. And that's all that's important. And I'm sure everybody else will figure it out, or they can watch this in the future. So yeah, I love you. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Elena, good morning. Elisa and Jess, good morning. People are starting to come in. Yeah. So tomorrow is the live event. It's going to be so far we're not canceled, unlike the first time we were going to do it. And it was, as you know, it was canceled immediately. Well, not immediately, but there was political pressure and some liberal loving tears of death threats not death threats, but threats of violence towards the people who were who owned the establishment. So they had no choice but to shut it down. So the venue we have now, everything is good. Good morning, Lisa. Lisa is in northern BC. Wow, you're up early. Good morning, Lisa. You know, I want to go there. I'm desperate to go there. I have some friends out there, some trucker friends out there that want me to meet up, and we're going to try to do something in BC. Let's see how things go tomorrow, if I don't completely crash and burn, which would be funny anyways if I do as well. Regardless what happens, it's going to be lots of fun, and we'll be able to spend time together. So it's on my Twitter account. It's posted. If you want to get tickets to tomorrow and come out, just click on the link. It's a Tickets Bud event thing, and grab your ticket. Come on out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so yeah, I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions for me. I saw yesterday on Twitter, there's lots of people who have lots of questions for me, but they don't seem to want answers. It's so funny. What they seem to want to do is just yell and scream and call me names and call me fed. And hold on, I'm just going to start the live stream here for one of the Instagram accounts, of which I have too many now at this point. Okay, yeah, we're not wrong camera. Let's flip that around. All right, yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, so there seems to be a lot of people on Twitter that are very upset with myself and my lawyer, Mr. Kalaharios, my good friend Jim. And but it is what it is. People sometimes just don't like the truth, I guess. Everybody says, "Oh, tell me the truth, tell me the truth." Okay, you tell the truth, because unfortunately, in that forum, we have no choice. But you do, and then people lose their minds. And I'm going to explain why that happens. It's a phenomenon I'm sure many of us know. And so Karen Fleischer says, maybe your assistant can help. Yes, she can. My assistant is amazing. Thank you, Karen, my assistant. And anyways, so we're going to, that's going to be top of the list for today, is get that stuff sorted out for tomorrow and see how many of you are going to be coming out. So get tickets while you can. Would love to be there. Would love as many to be there as possible. And I would love it to be kind of the start of doing more of these, so I can come see many of you in different places. So far, I think we have Quebec is going to be, Laurentians in Quebec is pretty much going to be a go, I think. What else? Boston is for sure. If you're a Bitcoiner, I'm going to be on Cafe Bitcoin on Friday morning. So that's another thing. Is it Friday morning? I don't know. I'll check the date. And what else? Vancouver, I think. Vancouver, Whistler. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the board. And so let's see what happens, and would love to see as many of you as possible when you get out there. But most importantly, we're going to start with love and freedom and being grateful for what we have and reciprocity. And a great way to encapsulate reciprocity in your life is to like, share, or subscribe this video or stream. And even to my haters. I would love to see my haters. If you noticed yesterday, for those of you who saw my Diverge Media interview, I don't get shy about any questions. There's no question that scares me. You ask me a question, I give you the answer. And if you get upset at the truth of the answer, well, I don't know what I can tell you. I just can tell you the truth, and that's it. And we had a great talk yesterday, so I do highly recommend that. And so yeah. Tom, do you have access to that information? The communicated threads to venue document. I'm confused. What do you mean? The communicated threads to venue document. You mean like the I don't understand what you mean. You know what, Tom, just explain a little better if you can. Because remember, I'm also talking and reading at the same time, so it's a skill you got to develop, as I've been told. So it takes a little while. It's difficult to process. Lisa says Jane Scarf does not like. Well, there's a lot of people that don't. Because it's funny, people hurled the term "grifting piece of shit" at me throughout the convoy, and there was somebody who was that, and it wasn't me. And then everybody celebrates them. The guys who come in and, Doyle rules, we're taking over here. Bring in Doug Ford's buddy to negotiate. Sit down and shut up. I mean, it would be great if he did that, because then I'd say, no, get the fuck out. But anyways, it's all sneaky behind the scenes, and there was some text message that came out from him saying, I'm going to go to Ottawa because I need to prevent bloodshed. What are you, a psycho? Are you watching too many Marvel movies? Like, you're a lawyer. What are you doing? It's so funny. Anyways, it is what it is. Don't really care. These people are really odd. So, yeah, did the interview with Diverge Media yesterday. I also received a few emails from people telling me about an interview on Rebel Media with Sheila Gunn Reid. That she was espousing all stuff she should know better, where she said, oh, what did she say here? It was I wrote it down here. Oh, yeah. Why didn't he get arrested? Well, if you're watching the trial, you would know they said they were picking off people on the street. And then she follows up with, he conveniently broke his ankle. Yeah, I did it for fun. I'm still in pain every day. Like yesterday, I'm in so much pain, and I was contemplating Advil, and I'm like, I'll do it later. So yeah, it was just for fun, Sheila. But anyways, I don't know. She said, and this is why I was contacted. She said she would like to talk to BJ, talk to him at any time, live, unedited, or something like that. I didn't watch it. It's just why I'm the secondhand account. And, she would sit down and talk and whatever, fair and open and unedited. I'm like, well, I don't know why you think that would be a problem, but okay, fine. And so what I did is I actually, once I got word of it, I called my lawyer and I said, hey, Jim, listen, you have Sheila's contact information. If you do, just send her a message and say, sure, we'll come on. Okay, anytime you want. Like, let me know. We'll explain and clarify things, and you can give me the hard questions. And that was on Friday, and still haven't gotten word back. I think Friday. So, it was on Friday. So still no response. So I don't know. I see a lot of that I see a lot of. I'm not saying this is it, but I see this phenomenon on Twitter. And this is coming from like the establishment hacks that all kind of work together as a little cult. What they'll do is they'll block your Twitter account so that you can't see them, and then they'll go to the rest of the world and they'll run smear campaigns and say you're a fed or say this or whatever. And then you never see it. So I get people sending me links to Twitter saying, check out this. And I click on it. And it's just a bunch of like, this person has limited who can see your tweets. And I'm like, you're too afraid to even show me your tweets? Like, what is going on? It's just, it's kind of world, right? But anyways, hold on. Plain, you have no idea what pain is. Pain. I'm missing body parts because of Trudeau. Trudeau's then having to tolerate him. Trudeau as PM. That's an effing pain. Listen, Trudeau is a piece of garbage, but it seems to be not just Trudeau. There was he was working with other people in the political class, primarily in the province in Ontario and Alberta. To try to quash the convoy. That's what you saw. That's what it was all about, and that's what my testimony was through a series of questions because I couldn't just explain it. I had to be led down that path. That's what I was trying to convey. But again, the interview process. I said this on the TikTok I just did. The interview process, what you saw, that's just one element. The important part is all the evidence, all the documents that were submitted as evidence. That 3-hour interview is just to talk about some of the evidence that the commission had presented and some of the evidence that I had presented. But if it was a full interview around all the documents that were submitted, it would have taken days. So they're just trying to condense a few topics into a few-hour period and give a few people the opportunity to attack me basically, because I was due to no thanks of my previous counsel who screwed me out of the chance to get standing. Well, then maybe not him. Maybe it was the JCCF. I don't know, but they clearly conspired to ensure I wouldn't get standing and didn't tell me what was going on, and so I didn't have the opportunity to cross-examine any of the other witnesses because I would have decimated them, right? Myself and my team. It's not just Jim, by the way. There's another lawyer. Anyways, so it is what it is. Love the way the trucker convoy brought in great doctors like Dr. Alexander, Hoskins, RMNA, whatever. That was not us, the convoy that brought it in, but it was some, parallel groups, and that was kind of the contention. They wanted to. Remember, I think this came out in the commission testimony, or maybe other interviews I did. There were so many other groups that were trying to take control of the convoy, and one or two of the groups actually. I don't know because they're so intermingled and the same people, and they're using different names. I'm from this group, and then the next day I'm from this group. I'm like, wait, you were just here yesterday from a different group, right? Like that's what we were dealing with, right? And so one of those groups or whatever brought in the doctors, and one of them was Dr. Alexander, by the way. He was not Dr. Hoskins. He was one of the doctors that came down and examined my ankle when it was broken. So he might want to tell Sheila Gunn-Reid that, I actually broke it because Dr. Hoskinson examined me. And he was so nice. He was such a nice man. Like, he was one of those like old school doctors with like, proper bedside manner, very caring and whatever. And he was amazing. But he wasn't brought in by the Freedom Convoy. So he was brought in by these other groups, and that was part of the contention. They wanted to make the Freedom Convoy messaging about vaccines. And my argument was, from somebody who has experience with communications, trying to reach a broad tent, was, why don't you do your group on one of the stages about specifically, vaccines under your banner, and say you're here in support of the Freedom Convoy, and the Freedom Convoys are just about freedom, to bring in as many people as possible, because we wanted vaccinated, anti-vaccinated, doesn't matter. Everybody is welcome on the principles of freedom and free speech and the ability to protest and talk, because irrespective of what people's views are on vaccines, can I say vaccines on YouTube now? Medicine. Well, that's a medicine. Irrespective of your views on medicine, we all need to talk. We need to talk to the other side. They need to talk to us. And that's why we tried to have this broad umbrella around the Freedom Convoy. But some of them just didn't like that and got really aggressive. And it's like, dude, that's just not where we start. We've been working on this for weeks. This is not where we started from. And that was just... anyways, it's in the past. The friction's done. What are you going to do, right? I think it worked out overall. I got an Instagram comment. What was the comment from the lawyer about insinuating in his accountant a Jew too? Oh. That was Paul Champ, and he's getting railroaded by some people, by the activists who always, they hear the word Jewish or Jew and they lose their minds. I hate being put in the position to defend Paul Champ, who actually was very nice to me, but he and the guy's suing us for hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, it's. But let's be honest. We got to tone down. We got to take the activism down a few levels. So that's why I'm commenting on this. He was just giving an analogy, right? He was just saying as an example, and he brought out another racial trope. Now, I think what Paul Champ was saying was inaccurate, but his rebuttal was not something to be outraged. We all got to stop getting offended all the time, right? Like that was not worthy of offense, and. This is something I'm trying to teach to as many people as possible. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I mean, that's kindergarten. Like, that's pretty easy stuff, and I don't understand why we can't get back to there. Anyways, so back to what I was saying was I contacted my lawyer, and I'll get your comments in a second. Oh, hey, Bridget. Hey, love. How you doing? I'm going to talk about you in a second, Bridget. While Sheila was, recycling some of the claims about me that were false, and I've repeatedly addressed over the past, 8 months, she went there again, and I said, okay, Jim, she said she's willing to talk to us. Go just give her a call and tell Sheila that we're available. So I'll let you know, hopefully maybe by tomorrow, because it's the weekend now, and I get it. Sheila might have gotten on a Friday and she's busy, so I understand that. So I'm hoping by maybe sometime tomorrow we'll get a response, and she'll say, hey, yeah, come on, let's clarify some of this stuff, and that would be awesome, right? Good morning, Jim. And Lisa's all about peace, love, and unity. Love it. I love it so much. So in other convoy news, and Bridget, I love you. You're going to love this. In other convoy news, I received a link yesterday about, I hate talking about this guy because he was just there supposed to be looking at trucks. This guy, Tom Razzo, and his background and his history and all that sort of stuff. So when Tom showed up, I explained this in my book, actually. I first met him on the 5th of February or 6th of February. I don't remember exactly. I have to go back in the calendar and look. He showed up, and I was in Tamara's room, and I think he came after, because I don't remember. But we were in her hotel room when she was at Sheridan at that time, because she kept bouncing around from different hotels. That's why You know, they said in the testimony, oh, she left your shirt. I'm like, well, no surprise, because we were at the Arc and then the Swiss and then the Sheridan and then back to the Swiss. It's like, okay, but we're all around each other. Like, anyways, trying everything they could do to smear me. So we're in her hotel room at the Sheridan, and this guy was there. And he explained to me, he said, I said, who are you? And he says, I'm Tom. I'm okay, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to help with the trucks and moving the trucks and all that. And I remember thinking, like, moving the trucks, why would you want to do that? Isn't that called leverage? Like, the police told us where to park. But I just thought, okay, you want to look at trucks all day, that's fine. And he said to me, I'm going to be a ghost. Nobody will know I was ever here. I'm going to be invisible. And he seemed reasonable. And I thought, okay, great. Okay, cool. Then you know what? Awesome. You know, you go do your thing with the trucks. Just take care of the drivers because they need some support. And I'll continue on the messaging. And we're not going to step on each other's feet. And it'll be awesome. And then was it Salman? I don't remember who it was. Came into my room the next morning and said, "You're not going to believe this. That guy Tom is doing a news conference now." And I'm like, "Why? It's been less than 12 hours. He promised me he's not going to." I was like, "Yep, well, he's doing it now." And that's the news conference where he said some things sloppily. And the government interpreted it as, oh, these people want to overthrow the government. Now, in normal vernacular, you wouldn't get that. But in legalese, or in how politicians speak, that's how they would interpret it, right? Because they use very sensitized language. Good morning, Kiss Junkie. It's good to see you. Amanda, how are you, sweetheart? So that's what was, and it just, from there, it was just constant, like, ugh. Stop it already. Yeah. Oh, and Bridget. So Bridget was testifying there, as you know, and Bridget was in a very difficult situation because Bridget didn't have a lawyer, by the way. So she somebody reached out to her to be a paralegal and to give her help. Whereas I had a lawyer who I paid for, and I'm going to be paying for a little while. Legal fees are not cheap. But so she was up against the wall from two. And I remember Bridget, we spoke on the phone, and because she was worried. She didn't, and I said to her, look, Bridget, just get a paralegal. If you have a paralegal, just get somebody. At least you'll be a little bit more comfortable. There'll be somebody who help leading you a little bit. And, what did it work out perfectly? It didn't work out perfectly for any of us. But I think Bridget's messaging was, there are certain things that were quite salient. You saw that they were clipped out by True North about what the Trudeau government was doing to people and how truckers were suffering. And that was, that's because of Bridget. Now, in the confines of a commission, that's because there's certain legal rules in a commission that kind of skirts the line a little bit, but I think it was effective for getting the message out. Like, we were all under major constraints in terms of what we can do, and I'm sure Bridget can talk to that and explain that it was a little bit difficult to prepare for it and whatever. And she says, Dr. Hoskins is amazing, love him. Yeah, he was super sweet, and Dr. Laura. Dr. Hoskins was... he was so nice. I wish he would have stuck around longer, but he had to go. He was dealing with meetings on stuff. So, Peter says the whole thing is a joke. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that the Trudeau government actually submitted a whole bunch of requests to the commissioner and said, we want to investigate all these other people based on news articles, right? Based on the CBC and all that sort of stuff. And that's why you saw like the Diagolon guy and a few other people that really should have no involvement and participation in it. But the Trudeau government requested the commissioner to add them. And people are asking, well, why would the commissioner add them? And it's very, very simple. This is the first time ever a commission has ever been enacted under that legislation, the EMA. So there's no legal precedent. There's nothing to go on. So you'll see he's giving a little bit of leeway. He gave leeway to my lawyers and some others. because there's no legal framework for him. Like, yeah, there's the rules and the regulations, but there's how the rules get applied that sometimes you go to precedent for. So because of that, he's a little bit, what's he going to say to the Trudeau government if he says to them, I'm not going to accept these witnesses that the Prime Minister has asked? Well, then that's going to shed doubt on the commission from the other side, and the media is going to attack the commissioner, and then they'll hang him out to dry. So I'm sympathetic for what it was. In terms of Diagolon guy, Jeremy McKenzie, and he mentioned my name, and you can see the vitriol that he has for me for whatever reason, and I think I know, and it may have to do with some views that he has on certain groups. But even with all of that and all the harassment that he's thrown at my way for the past several years, and during the convoy, which was not helpful. It was not helpful to have somebody so mouthy, just trying to tell everybody, oh, the spokesperson is a Fed, or whatever the hell he said. Even with all of that, maybe I'm just compassionate. I felt bad for him, and I know it's his own doing because he assaulted somebody and pulled a gun. But you could see him he was kind of in military mode, and I think he's one of those people that there's some degree of PTSD that's probably driving some of his behavior, and I felt bad, and I hope he gets help. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Kanan says, Tom has sold many lies. I'm going to get that in a second. He works for the board. Court documents from Georgian College lawsuit, misuse of their email, and he was hammered. Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to. So he was telling all of us that he was in Ottawa because of the COVID restrictions, he lost his job. And it turns out, and he told us this all over and over again, right? This was always the story. But it turns out, according to documents from Georgian College, he was doxing people, is what he was doing, or something like that, right? I don't want to be, I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't there, but, there's the report on the Georgian College, in the Georgian College lawsuit, and explains his dismissal had apparently nothing to do with COVID. So he was working there. So is he vaccinated as well? And they also cited, I believe they cited something to the effect, and K9 I think you went through this in detail, that he had some problems with the truth, at least from what I understand. I got to tell you, from being in Ottawa, that's no surprise to me. You go to his website, and what does it say? I was giving daily press conference at the Freedom Convoy as the spokesperson. No, you weren't. And the entire media team was losing their minds. And anyways, caused so much friction. But, they're part of that group. He was Randy Hillier's guy, brought in to kind of elbows. O'Doyle rules were taken over here. And then you had, what's it called? Keith and Dean French were Doug Ford and Jason Kenney's guys that came in and wanted to just disrupt the convoy and put an end to it. And those aren't liberals, by the way. Those are conservatives. So you got caught. You got caught. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. And I explained a lot of this on Diverge Media, and I'm sure I'm going to be doing more interviews about this, and Sheila has me on with Jim, like we offered, like she suggested. Then we'll explain it further. And you also can go to Bridget Belton and Chad Eros and Chris Guerra, who will all corroborate everything that I explained in my testimony. I was just the only one who was summoned and got the opportunity to speak. If they got the opportunity to speak as well, then they would explain all of what I said as well. So, it is what it is. Also, get the feeling they are getting you going at each other. Well, that's what they were doing. That was the whole point, right? It was to, we were, You know, a perfect example was when I broke my ankle and I was on the couch in the Ark Hotel. Again, I tell that story in the book in more detail, but you know, in the face of any sort of, I don't want to say that was adversity, but somebody getting hurt, for example, even though there was a lot of friction an hour previously, like they were awesome. Like Miranda came, popped me full of drugs, and Chad came and sat by my side for like 20 minutes, and Bridget was there. A bunch of the road captains, people I didn't know were there. Sean was there. Like everyone was so cool, you know? So because they live in this world where you can speak honestly, you can scream at somebody, and 5 minutes later, who cares, right? Like they're tough people. They have thick skin. They're not, you know, like people in the political class who cry when you say something mean to them, like the people who came in and tried to sabotage the convoy and ultimately were successful. So yeah, if you know any truckers that were arrested or are facing charges or had their trucks impounded or were kettled, you can go to that team that was with the JCCF, and you can go to Tom, and you can just say to them, good job, guys. Thanks for putting an end to the convoy and getting us all arrested, because that's what they did. Right. Okay, so the Diagolon info was good. How stupid the intelligence is in Canada. They used Diagolon to invoke a meme. And yeah, the only problem is, like, I remember when I saw the Diagolon meme initially, I, irrespective of my personal opinions of being, you know, harassed by this guy for the past 3 years or whatever it was, I thought, yeah, that's funny. Wow, I would not be doing that now. That is really stupid. Really funny, but really stupid. You're going to get into trouble. And I think what crossed the line, I didn't realize this. This is why they were on the stand. Sending joke, threatening letters to senators. Yeah, you're going to get arrested. That's problematic. Or you're arrested. I mean, he wasn't arrested. Actually, you shouldn't say that. He wasn't arrested for that. But that would explain why he was in the inquiry. And what does that do? That drags the entire Freedom Convoy down, right? People don't understand that when you are mouthy and you say the wrong things, you bring down a whole bunch of people around you. And that was always my concern, and that's why I always stayed away from certain people. Anyways, I only saw part of Diverge Media interview. Well, it's still up on Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, I think. Glad you have Jim as your lawyer. Yeah, Jim is awesome as a lawyer. He's amazing. I got to tell that whole story of all the prep and how it all worked and what we were doing. I got an email. He was going to be in Ottawa representing someone from the convoy. Right away, I knew it was you. Well, what can I tell you? I agree, maybe Jeremy isn't a good guy, but I liked his testimony and how he made the government look. Yeah, like everything he said about the anti-hate network was completely I call it hate.com. Everything he said about hate.com was completely accurate, and they're very problematic, and all they do is smear and publicly shame people, and that's got to stop, in my opinion. Charlene, in the EA, they're going to talk about the hacker and GIF. Oh, are they? Are they going to talk about the hacker? Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Cool. I'm going to get to some other stuff in a second. I just want to get to the rest of my notes here. Bridget says, leaders are unified, most of us. Yeah, you know, we've all found that common ground. And, you know, Bridget and I have some differences of opinion, and Chad and I do, and I'm sure Chris and Bridget do, and whatever. But we've come together. Like, you know, we're 50% of everything from the beginning, and we were not given a voice. I was the sole voice for all of us. Not so, I shouldn't say the sole voice because Bridget was there too, but for Chris and for Chad, because I'd communicated with them. Just on they were getting me up to date with what happened. I mentioned, like for example, I mentioned Chris Guerin submitted his stuff as evidence, by the way, how the police were helping and working with him to set up staging areas for the trucks and all that sort of stuff. So because Chris and I had some long conversations and sent me some evidence and explained what was going on from his perspective, I submitted it as evidence, and I did my best to shoehorn it into my testimony, But again, I couldn't lead the conversation. It's the lawyer asking questions who lead the conversation. So it was a little bit of a challenge, right? So there you go, Bridget. Dina really liked your interview. And I think, Dina, I think you've mentioned that before a couple of days ago when I was streaming. So yeah, 100%. So there's a little bit for everybody. And Bridget has some comments down here about Chad. I'm going to get to that. Well, I'll do that right now. And then I'm going to move on to the next section. Chad was originally added as an accountant. Then he got on the board as a member, so he couldn't be an accountant anymore. Well, he became treasurer, but could do the bookkeeping. Then became president of the corp. Then he asked too many questions. Exactly. Bridget, 100%. If you asked questions, then certain people with the JCCF would make sure you get kicked off the board. That's how that board was operating. And being led by the Lord. I've never seen that. I've never seen a board like... That's why when Brendan in my testimony is like, that's how a board works. I'm like, bro, I know how a board works. I've been on many of them. This was not how a board works because your buddy who was whispering in your ear, lying to you for... Well, I don't know if he was lying, but whatever he was whispering to you in your ear for an hour was the one who was... anyways... Let's move beyond that. I want to get beyond that. I don't really care anymore, to be entirely honest. At least you got all the important docs as evidence. They will be reviewed and considered, even if not discussed in the final interview. Yeah, they're going to be added to the... they're going to be relied upon for the final report, right? So it is what it is. And yes, okay, so I just want to get onto this topic because from what I hear after... they all started to pile up. The whole group. The Marazzo Randy Hillier group, which is part of the Dean French, Jason Kenney. Well, Jason Kenney is not there anymore. Doug Ford, Keith Wilson group, and the Sheila and Gunn Reed group. Like they're all. By the way, apparently Keith Wilson. Maybe somebody knows this. Somebody who's out in Alberta. Keith Wilson and Ezra Levant have been very close friends since law school. They went to law school together. I don't know if that's why that interview was not aired. The interview with myself and Tamara in the Swiss the night that we arrived, that every news agency in the world wanted. I don't know if that had something to do with it. It might not have. It just might have been another reason. I don't know. But anyways, so the whole group got online and sent out to trolls and Target BJ and Hurt Locker Tom. By the way, that's what we called Tom Marazzo. As a joke in the messaging committee, it was Hurt Locker Tom. So Hurt Locker Tom was... I just love saying that. They were... Hurt Locker Tom was bashing me online, saying he doesn't know me, only met me for 15 minutes, and... Boardman said to me, I don't know, when I was going out to do interviews and I saw you there, I was in a meeting that I was observing you there for like an hour just one time. And I don't even remember that, to be entirely honest. It was towards the end. Well, it was a meeting. He happened to be there when I was communicating some stuff. But anyways, it is what it is. So they all came out on Twitter, and then the outrage mob expanded and got larger, right? Because people are hearing one side of the story, they're not hearing the other side, which would give you pretty much a broader and full context. So I want to talk about that phenomenon because we need to get good at understanding this, because artificial intelligence is coming down the pipeline. So these bots that we see online, they don't understand contextual speech. That's why when they insult you, you'll see those accounts, and I think Bridget, you'll have seen that on Facebook. You'll see an account that will pop up. It'll have like 3 followers, and it'll say like Bridget is ugly, right? Because it doesn't, and it'll put it in a thread because it doesn't understand the context of the conversation. But artificial intelligence will. So when you take a bot and merge it with artificial intelligence, you'll have what feels like an actual human being attacking you in mass. And what can they do? They can launch, millions simultaneously to just start attacking somebody and publicly shame them online. So we need to become familiar with how this phenomenon works and how humans behave on Twitter, okay? So they have to. What happens is we got to understand firstly why were so many people attacking me? Because I went up there, all I did was speak the truth. Chris Guerra and Chad Eros and Bridget can corroborate it all. So the four of us would confirm everything. Yet people got just went crazy and attacking me. Why? Because what happens is you'll notice the narrative about, I don't know, this deal that came out of nowhere in the middle of August. A deal. They started putting it on media saying, oh, deal, because that primes people to accept that as the narrative of what actually happens, right? The media started doing this in the early 90s, right? The first narrative becomes what's factual as opposed to the actual facts. So people then believe it, and then they become aligned with it, and they accept that fake narrative as truth. That's why that's why Keith was doing all these interviews, right? He was going everywhere he can to say, oh yeah, deal. I remember watching it and thinking, I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. All right, you keep digging your grave, buddy. So then what happens? You've aligned with a certain amount, a certain set of facts, okay? And then somebody comes in with the complete opposite side, or the complete opposite perspective that is likely true, but you've never heard before. And it sounds like it's a completely foreign concept to you that, bam, what do people do? They slip into cognitive dissonance. And they start arguing a position that they just believe in, but they never actually verified. That's why in Bitcoin they say trust but verify, because they never verified the claims. They just believed it. And they believed it because they heard it over and over again, right? What was her name? Climate Barbie. Remember she basically quoted Goebbels when she said, yeah, if you just say your talking point over and over again, eventually people will believe it. That's what Keith was doing with his whole there's a deal narrative, right? So people are now slipping into cognitive dissonance. And this is what happens when I come up on the stand, on the record, under oath, with evidence that I have filed in the commission that supports it, that undermines his claims, for example, saying he doesn't know where the Bitcoin is. The seed phrase, which is the combination for the Bitcoin, there's 5, of which there's 5. I only had 1. All the other people who had them submitted them to Keith, and I submitted mine to Keith through his agent, who's a lawyer named Norm Groot. So he received it and submitted it to the trustee who put it into escrow. And then he gets on the stand and says, I don't know where it is. I know where it is. You have it. You gave it to the escrow agent. Like, just shocking. So despite the fact that the evidence is so clear and factual and can be verified in email records, people still, that's the danger of cognitive dissonance. And we all have the ability to slip into cognitive dissonance, right? All of us, right? Especially when we fall into some sort of, that's why you always have to see the opposite sides of arguments. You know, my criticism, I don't want to be like, Keith, steal somebody else's argument like you did. Yeah, remember that story of the 2 truckers speaking through Google Translate? Yeah, that was me. The Tim Hortons, that wasn't him. Anyways, that was me and a friend of mine. But anyways, I can't believe he did that. I told that story in so many interviews, and then he goes and applies it to himself. Like, that's a certain level of crazy. Like, that is weird, man. I don't know what he was thinking, right? I'll get to you guys in locals in a second, I promise. There's a bunch of comments going up here. So when you slip into call, so then what happens is, like in my case, I couldn't speak about what was happening. I couldn't because I was alone. I didn't have anybody to go to because I saw that they were trying to build a narrative that they were going to pin it on me. And then 4 people told me, it started with Sean, he was the first one, but then 4 others warned me that the JCCF are going to try to pin this false narrative that the EMA and blame it on you. Why? Because they didn't like that I was the communications guy, because they wanted to step in the limelight. That's what John Carpe does all the time. The guy who's shouldn't be involved in the JCCF. Apparently he's not supposed to be, but he is. He was emailing me like crazy. And it's like, no, the Conservative Party wanted to take over. They wanted to take over. Everybody wanted to take over. It's like, we've done enough good getting here to Ottawa with our convoy. We're doing pretty good. How about offering a supportive role as opposed to taking over? And one of the people who saw all of this and who warned me about this little conspiracy that they're doing, trying to pin it on me with a tweet, like the government legislates based on a tweet, was this wonderful woman right here, Bridget Belton. She's one of the people who warned me and told me they're going to try to throw you under the bus. And when she told me, I kind of knew that at that point, but that was just another person to verify what was going on. So, if you want to confirm, and maybe Sheila Gunn-Reid wants to talk to Bridget Belton and confirm that. And then maybe, I wonder if Sheila, I don't know if they've gotten the link. You know what, Bridget? Maybe you should send something to Rebel News about that article from Georgian College about Tom Marazzo, that he wasn't actually dismissed for COVID. He was dismissed for, according to their records, right? According to their records, he was dismissed for misuse of their communications tool because he was doxing people or something like that. Maybe you can send that to Rebel, and I'm sure they'll cover that, right? Because they want to cover what's going on in the conservative space. So Bridget, maybe you should reach out, and maybe they should have you on. You know, they should have you on and Chris Guerra on and Chad Eros, and you know, kind of explain some of the background stuff, right? And you know, Bridget and I had some friction, and I now understand it because she didn't know who I was and where I came from. Like, she had no clue. So she gets to Ottawa, she's looking around, so who are all these people? And there was just, communication was a struggle for all of us, and I can understand why certain people got frustrated, right? But in the heat of the moment, things are so busy and crazy, it was just difficult to deal with all these things, plus everything else that was happening around us. Yeah, I don't know. I know nothing. You and I spoke about the concerns with lawyers back in February. Good to see Bridget on here. Yeah, okay, so there you go. You know, I was expressing concerns back then. People know. So you can't run away from the truth as much as you can. So this whole process of what you're seeing of people attacking me, and I'm sure Bridget and other people on Twitter, this cognitive dissonance that people slide into, even though you submit irrefutable facts and evidence into a commission, a federal commission, and they still attack you, it's a regular occurrence. And I'll give you a funny explanation. This is how these people are behaving. Scott Adams brought this up a couple of times on his podcast, and it's fascinating. CNN fired their previous smear merchant CEO. And when they fired him, they brought in a new guy. I don't even know his name, to be honest. I forget. But he said publicly that he's going to focus on bringing CNN back to the center and focus on factual news. Okay? That it's not going to be 24 hours attacking Trump anymore. They want to get back to doing factual news. How do you think the CNN audience responded? Quick, show me in the comments. What do you think? How do you think the CNN responded to the announcement that they're going to start covering the news? The way they responded was they lost their minds and they started attacking CNN. Because they don't want news. They want entertainment. They want confirmation bias. So what you're seeing is people slipping into cognitive dissonance because they're not getting the confirmation bias of the narrative they were already primed for and they accepted. There's that old additive, I can't remember, I always forget it. Something like the lie travels around the world instantly and the truth takes however long. I don't remember the phrase, but you know what I'm talking about. Lies go instantly, but the truth always lags behind. And that's why. And that's what you saw with my testimony. So they can go all they want with the, with all of the narrative that they're pushing and this and that, and whenever they get frustrated and yell at me. And that's a good tell. You notice with Brendan, who was technically my lawyer in a roundabout way, because I'm still a member of that board. So that was my lawyer viciously attacking me. That's the first problem. But remember, you noticed he was calm, cool, level-headed, and collected the entire time throughout the commission. Like, he was very smooth and right. When I was looking at him, I saw a 5-year-old child having a temper tantrum. I was mildly entertained. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There's your tell that they know they're not telling the truth, right? That's the lie. Now, I get passionate, and I can, tend to raise my voice when I get enthusiastic, and there are a couple of things there, and the commissioner, yeah, okay, great. We all do that, right? But I'm also not a trained litigator. And as a trained litigator, you're not supposed to have any emotional investment. You're supposed to be representing your client. There's something more there. And Bridget, I'm sure you can verify this. Something that's been ringing in the back of my ears that people have kept telling me all this time, that there's something more than just money and a client going on here, right? Like, they're so heavily invested in this. What is it? Like, what are they so obsessive over this? I don't know, right? But it is what it is. Over to locals. Okay, let me just catch up. I don't even know where I was. Just haven't done, at least you got all the important docs and evidence. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we really covered the important documents that were submitted as evidence, to be honest. But anyways, especially the first hour getting to know me, like, who cares who I am, right? They will be reviewed and considered. Yeah, okay, fine. Agreed, 100% Beth. And also available to the public, yes. And Kiss Junkie, probably whiny, 100%. Okay. Watching your time on the stand through Maverick was hard to watch because of the comments against you and Bridget. Through Maverick. What's Maverick? I know. Oh, those guys. Yeah, that's part of the group that... that's the Randy Hillier group that were there to smear me, right? And they were for a while smearing Chris, Barber, and Tamara until they got in line and were willing hostages for the JCCF, and you notice they don't get attacked anymore, right? It's funny how that works. Welcome to politics in Canada. That's how it works. It's just horrible. Now you understand why I just don't want to be in politics. And Bridget John, lawyers are always an issue. Listen, I have some friends who are lawyers. I have sympathy for them sometimes. There's good and bad everywhere, but yes, I understand. I mean, I think we're talking about dirtbag lawyers, and there definitely was no shortage of that, right? Lawyers seem to attack the freedom fighters. Yes, there's a lot of that's going on, and there's a whole bunch of other reasons around the law societies that would contribute to that. All I know is Trudeau colluded in the 60s with Big Pharma and made millions of hurting women and babies, and was the collusion to continue the collusion today with this Trudeau government. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you, brother. I'm no fan of any of the Trudeaus, to be entirely honest. And just because and everybody calls them commies and stuff like that. It's not they're commies, they're postmodern. They're postmodernists. And if you read any of Stephen Hicks's work, his book explaining postmodernism, Jordan Peterson has cited it many times. Gad Saad has some amazing talks about postmodernism. And you can learn the philosophy, as Peterson famously said, within a day. That's how simplistic it is. That's what they are. They're postmodernists, right? Everything's oppressor versus oppressed. And as Stephen Hicks says, is postmodernism neo-Marxists? And we did a podcast about it. The title is it neo-Marxist? Yes, no, and sort of. So these are intricate philosophical topics, but postmodernism itself is not intricate. And that is, when you understand postmodernism, Trudeau is so easy to understand. That's why I can predict all these people, what they're doing. And I'm worried that I'm starting to see that creep into the conservative space. So when Brendan was attacking me, I couldn't believe this. He was attacking me. I was shell-shocked. I shell-shocked, I didn't know what to respond because it was just a smear. You went on a Russian propaganda news agency. And it's like, firstly, they're all propaganda. Every country has its propaganda news agency or multiple ones, right? We have the CBC, but now we have all corporate media that's propaganda for the government. Just because you don't like Putin doesn't mean it's any different. It happens in every country all over the world. In Colombia, it happens. In Panama, in every place I've been, Mexico, they all act as Like, one of the funny things is when I was in Mexico for an extended period of time in León, they, you watch the news and what do they say? Mexicans are the nicest people in the world. We're the kindest people, which is, there's some truth to that, by the way. But it's all the same rhetoric you hear about Canadians. Oh, Canadians are so friendly. Everybody loves Canadians. The Mexicans say the same thing about themselves. And guess what? So do the Colombians. Every country runs that propaganda about themselves. It's a model that's everywhere. So, like, to say that one news agency is propaganda, but another one's not because you don't like the messaging, that's what the left does. That's postmodernism. And that's what I was being attacked with. And it's very scary to see that underlying philosophy creep into the world of conservatism when we're supposed to be more objective and about objective, provable fact. So it is what it is, right? I put bets on it being political infiltration 100%. Listen, why do you think you had Doug Ford's friend since the 1990s? And when I got wind of I don't remember what it was. I don't remember when I heard his name. It was towards the end or something, or it was a news article. I think we touched on it. And I heard the name, and it's like, he's Doug Ford's friend. And somebody said, oh, but they're not friends anymore. Like, no. They're psychopaths in politics. They will always be friends. They will stab each other in the back. They will fire each other or whatever. They'll still be friends and work together 6 months later. That's how these people operate. They don't believe in loyalty. That's just how they are. Anyways, it is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to get through. I'm going to have one more section I wanted to talk about here with, and just kind of the last comment about it, When they're attacking me, right? When the whole political group of bots and politicians and all that stuff, when they're all attacking me online on Twitter because I've just submitted verifiable evidence to the commission and I've been interviewed about certain elements of that evidence. And they all go online and, oh, BJ's a fed and this and that. It's not about me. It's about you. That's the thing you need to understand. This is manipulation tactics against you. Because this is the way that our political establishments put everybody into two silos, and they force you to vote have a binary worldview in your voting. That there's left and right, conservative, liberal. It's a very cost-effective way of campaigning. And I don't know anybody that's that simplistic. Like, we all have a whole range of different issues, and we're more compassionate about some things, and we're more, adversarial towards other topics, and we're all different. But they want to put us into silos. And then the last thing I'm going to, explain why this is so damaging is because this is the exploitive nature of what they're doing with this commission, right? So you're the product. You're the product they're going after, that they want to put you in one or two silos. And they're using this commission to do it. But at the same time, they want to undermine the Freedom Convoy. So there's two positions that you're seeing at play, and I was the third position they didn't expect. One position, and you heard Keith Wilson say this. I'm going to start with the left. The left-wing position is to promulgate a fake narrative that the convoy was violent, or it was dangerous, or the honking or whatever. We all know that's not even remotely close to true. It was dance parties and hot tubs and feeding the homeless and barbecues and whatever. Okay. But there's the other narrative that I saw building over the past several months and realized, I know what you're doing. And that is, and I heard this first in March, the convoy was peaceful, but then it got out of hand. No. It was the opposite. It was, Bridget can attest to this. It was chaos in the beginning. We had about a week or so of things slowly started to get organized. And then some people came on a plane and introduced chaos again. And the level of distrust was exponential at that point because of the chaos that they brought into us. But it was never not peaceful. It was peaceful the entire time. So why would the Conservatives want that? Because they don't want to talk about the Freedom Convoy, if you noticed. Because Doug Ford had the provincial passports. Jason Kenney, I don't know the degree of lockdowns that he had, but I know they had restrictions not as bad as Ontario. Tim Houston in Nova Scotia, Conservative, he locked it down. All the Conservative provinces in Canada did the exact same thing as the Liberal Party with restrictions. It's a uniparty. So one narrative, it was always violent. The Conservative narrative, it was peaceful, but then it turned violent. That's why they wanted to take over the messaging from me. And I came in and brought in all the evidence to show that it was peaceful the entire time. And these people with their second narrative, they're the ones who came and disrupted the Freedom Convoy and introduced all the friction. And that's why they're all coalescing together to try to defame and attack me online, because they want to build this narrative that the convoy was peaceful, then it got out of hand because there were too many people, so the Conservatives don't have to talk about it. In the testimony, we saw a smoking gun, a text message from a staffer in Trudeau's office saying, we need to frame the truckers the same way they framed the January 6th protesters. That this is the narrative they wanted to give to the media and for the media to disseminate to the population. Like, this is Pravda stuff, right? This is crazy. Have you heard Pierre Poilievre talk about that text message? Like, that's a home run. That's his bread and butter. Talking about media and how corrupt Trudeau is, and they were supportive of the truckers. Remember they tried to say that? You just had the evidence in the commission showing specifically the smear came from Trudeau's office to the media. And Pierre Poilievre has not said a word about it. Why? And I'm the bad guy. I'm the Fed. What are you going to do? You're not going to convince everybody. I just try to tell the truth. And the truth will always win, because the truth will be sustained. Lies have a shelf life. The truth goes on forever. So I'm not terribly worried. And I'm sure more and more people over time will understand that this is the truth. And I hope our political class shapes up and gets with it and understands that they need to be supporting freedom. They need to be supporting the truckers. And they need to be supporting peace, love, and unity. And if they do that, they won't blow a third election in a row. Because right now, that's the direction they're going. Just my personal opinion. I could be wrong about that. And that goes back to myself when I said, people ask me about Pierre, and it's like, Pierre's not the problem. It's the structure of the party. It's how the whole mechanism is operating right now. That's the problem. And that's why you're going to see more and more attacks against me from them and from some of their mouthpieces to try to discredit me. And some people will buy it because they don't want to see the truth. They're looking at this as entertainment, but then there's some people who want to know the verifiable facts. So, what you're saying makes sense because Big Pharma buys politicians on both sides. I think that's more of a, I know there's some of that going on here, but I think that's more of an American phenomenon. But I could be wrong. But anyways, Bridget, 100% right. Got to go. I have to call. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. And be well. Drive safe, Bridget. Sonia, oh my God, those texts. Wow. Yeah, from the Prime Minister's office, they are saying we are going to label the truckers like the January 6th protesters. And the Conservatives say nothing. Nothing. I cannot believe it. I can't believe what I'm seeing. It is truly disturbing. And you should all be emailing your Conservative MPs and MPPs and asking them why they're not exposing this highly corrupt text message about Trudeau, right? The Freedom Convoy was amazing. I was there almost every day. It was peaceful and most importantly, loving. It was it was hugs every day because people couldn't hug because of these restrictions. Everybody's hugging each other. Truckers from Quebec and Saskatchewan, like everybody was hugging each other. It was amazing. And if you look at my promo video, I got a little clip of it. Mike has a whole long video about it that shows it, and it's truly amazing. So anyways, that's why I can't support the Conservatives any longer. They are globalists. It's all the political parties, honey. It's all the political parties. And I can tell you where, anyways, if I told you, like, for example, if I told you Max was getting dirty money, would you want to know? Like, this is the cognitive dissonance thing. I have friends in that party. I have friends in all parties. And people can vote for whoever they want, and I'm never going to attack people for their personal choices. But would you want to know that? Because if I told you that and I gave you, verifiable evidence, would you get angry at me or would you get angry at them? And it's very difficult. We all fall into that, right? And what's the solution? I don't know. I really don't know the solution right now. It's really dangerous how they're all operating, and I hope it stops. I hope they go back to doing what politicians should be doing, which is be mildly corrupt, but at least protect the sanctity of what Canada is, because if we don't do that, we're not going to have it, right? Okay, I'm sure it's going to work out. It's going to be good. Just give it some time. It does take time to steady the ship, but if we talk more openly about this and people reach out to their members of parliament, reach out to their riding associations and EDAs and tell them, then it's going to be, it'll take a little bit of time, but you'll start to see those shift. It's not that these people are evil. They're just following a certain trajectory that they're being sold on as being the best way forward economically and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to throw at that steel man that I don't think they're necessarily all evil, but they need to hear your voices to speak up and to explain to them that's not the direction they want, right? Pierre Poilievre hasn't been completely silent on the issue. Oh, okay. But he hasn't been singing to the rafters either. So, agreed. There's also a little... So, if Pierre has spoken about it, I take that back. I apologize. Or if he's mildly touched on it, it's because there's friction in the party. There's people who do want to talk about it, and there's people who don't want to talk about it. My guess is he probably does want to talk about it, and he's being advised not to do so. That would be my guess. But it is what it is. Hopefully, if you all speak up and put on the pressure, then things will change, right? Carolyn, peace, love, and unity, and freedom. Don't forget freedom. We supported in a small town in northern BC just under 4,000 vehicles, 37-mile-long convoy on January 29th. That's awesome. And the convoy supported nationwide. Was that the one? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the one you were in, John. I know that. I'm going to come up and see you, brother, eventually. It's just going to take some time, man. But you know we were all concerned in February what was going on and people who are just busting their elbows in and trying to take over. And in my testimony, they got caught. Sucks to be them. And hopefully you guys will hear more from Bridget and from Chris Guerra and Chad Eros, who will corroborate all of this. I'm sure they have different perspectives on some stuff because I was in the Sheridan, they were in the Arc. I think Chris was in the Swiss, if I'm not mistaken. So we all saw things from slightly different perspectives, but we saw all the same general things going on. And you know what they would tell me, they would tell them something different. Like, they were lying to all of us. Everybody was being lied to. It was amazing. It is what it is, right? Okay, look, the whole world mandatory, mandatory vaccines were global as well. Yeah, when I went into South America the first time, they had dropped them shortly after I got there, but like within a few days. But I saw a little bit of that down there. Exactly. Thank you, everyone. I think everyone thinks Max is a saint, but he's in politics. So yeah, like, they're all politicians, man. They're just all, and there's two types of people in politics. There's people who stick with it, or there's people like, not to pat myself on the back, but get burnt out because we believe in loyalty and friendship and not backstabbing people and loving people. And when we're surrounded by a bunch of people who just backstab people all the time, it's just like, you know what? I'm out. I don't need this negative energy. And that's what it is. So up until now, I don't think the commission succeeded in proving the act was justified. Agreed 100%. Far from it. They have nothing. I can see this is with the questions they asked, like, about Russia today. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Like of all things to go after me for, to try to go after me for. And maybe that's what Keith was whispering in his ear because he was jealous because he didn't get to go on TV. I mean, you talk about somebody who's drunk with a camera. Oh my God, just like, you talk like the biggest camera whore I've ever seen in my life. But, whatever, to each his own. If that's what he wants to do, then start a news channel or something, whatever. U.S. just extended their border restrictions until the end of the year. The fight for flight continued. Yeah, you know what's amazing about that is I've never once experienced any of those border restrictions. So when I flew to Miami, they didn't care about my vaccine status, even though I'm vaccinated. I printed everything out because I wanted to test it, and they said, yeah, we don't need it. Oh, okay, fine. And then driving back and forth from the border, I got back in the truck in June, and I have not once been asked vaccine status going into the United States. So future now, I would actually, I'm curious where you heard that. Like, can you tell me what media source reported that? Because my experience going across the border, as well as my other friends who are truckers, complete opposite. Nothing. I've never once been asked for my vaccine status going into the U.S. Even during the heavy restrictions here, I was never once asked. Not once. So I don't know if it's because I had the ArriveCan app. I used it one time the night before I went on Tucker Carlson. And is that data mining app sharing information with the U.S. government? And they already know my vaccine status, and that's why I was never asked? I don't know. But no other truckers I know have ever been asked for vaccine status going into the United States. Not one time ever. So, it's weird. It's weird. I'm just curious who reported that. When it comes down to all they're all politicians. That's 100% true. Sonia, I'm gonna sneak in your truck. Listen, I got two bunk beds, like 2 bunks, and some living space, and I got lots of room. That's how I got away from all the COVID nonsense, was just to try to spend my days away from podcasting and my other stuff in the truck, just to clear my head. And I got to tell you, it kind of saved me. So, did you use the Eureka because it's linked up for 2 years? I did use it. I used it one time. The day before I was on Tucker Carlson. Globe and Mail has an article. Okay, so I'm not sure that it's true, because the Globe and Mail also had some articles saying that the white supremacist truckers are weaponizing freedom. I couldn't believe that came out of an actual credible news source. Like, crazy. Dina, you a truck driver? Yeah, I have a Volvo VNL 670, And I'm an owner operator, and I actually was gonna, if I had some time, I had to just do some. I got to clean up the bull bar in the front, like the brackets that go in. They rust. They get rust every year on the surface. Like the bull bar is chrome, and the attachment to the bumper or to the chassis, it needs to be painted every year before the winter. And because I just got it rust proofed, so I was going to go down if I had time this weekend and just spend an hour or so. Just kind of get away from all this stuff, clear my head, and do a little bit of work on the truck. But I don't imagine I'm going to have time today. But we'll see. It's in place until January 23-ish. It depends on the customs officer. Yeah, well, I don't know. They haven't. They've never asked me one time. And coming back into Canada, when I got back in the truck in June, that's how I knew they were going to drop the Arrive Can and the process. And from what I heard, there was a lot of conflict within CBSA. I was not once asked for my Arrive Can driving back into Canada since the beginning of June. Now, I don't know about April and May, March, April, May, because I was at a commission with a broken ankle. But during those months, during the months since I got back, not once. So Sonia always wanted to ride in a truck. I mean, they're all different. You'll probably think of like my brother's truck. My brother's got... it's kind of the icon of what a truck is. He's got a Kenworth W900, which is kind of the squared off long nose with a multi-level windows in the front. If you type in Kenworth W900, you'll know what he has. I have a Volvo, which everybody makes fun of because they're like driving a Mercedes of trucks. Like they're very comfortable and they're not quite rough. They're very big and open and spacious. It's like driving a car. It's like driving a car with a big stick shift. But it's super good on gas, so everybody makes fun of me for, I get a real truck. I'm like, I can't afford the gas on a real truck. So, but if you're in trucking, you'll kind of understand culturally what that is. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, a couple of questions here on locals, and I'll finish up these questions, and then just zip it up and go ahead. So I went to the U.S. the end of July, not asked. Went 3 weeks ago, refused, but I was asked. Oh, okay, interesting. So I guess it's up to the officer. It was like night and day. As soon as I crossed into America in July, huge stress melted away, like a different world. There are restrictions. There were restrictions. Didn't want to go home. My dad was a truck driver. My brother took my brother a few times, but not me. Yeah, when I was I went to Bitcoin Miami, and then I went down to Colombia to see friends because I had 2 months to kill that I couldn't walk and I couldn't go in the truck and it was cold in Canada. So I'm okay. I might as well just go down to Colombia and see everybody, see Mike and everybody. And so for basically almost 4 months between Miami and Colombia, except for because I went there, came back, then went again. Long story. But with the mask mandates, the only time I ever saw masks was when I arrived in Colombia the first time I got there, and they dropped them like a few days later. Then I went back to Miami to speak at the conference, and when I came back to Colombia, everything was lifted. So I got used to not having to even see a mask. No mask in the airport, in the plane, nothing. The whole world has moved on. And then finally, I got to get back to Canada because I'm cleared to get back in the truck and all that sort of stuff. I get back to Florida, get my connecting flight into Canada, and I didn't connect. I stayed for a few more days in Florida, and then came back. So I went to get my flight to Canada, and it was like the Twilight Zone. Like the airport is completely open, no masks, nothing. We get into the plane, they close the doors, and they're like, okay, because we're in Canadian aviation rules, you now have to wear a mask. And I remember asking people around me, like, I was confused. So why do we have to wear masks? It's been 4 months. What masks? I said, because it's Canada. I'm like, what do you mean? They explained to me nothing's changed. We still had regulation. I'm like, for all of this, the whole world has completely moved on, but Canada's the Twilight Zone. And I came back here, I get to the airport, and I see the zombies walking around with masks and staying 6 feet away from each other. And it was just crazy. Whereas, you know, a week prior, I was in Provenza in Medellin, in like kind of like their nightlife district, surrounded by just tens of thousands of people like this close together going to different bars and whatever because I could finally walk. And it was fine. It was like it was amazing. And guess what? There was no we weren't super spreaders. They didn't all die. You know, Medellin didn't have half its population wiped out. And I get back to Canada, it's like the Twilight Zone. Anyways, is what it is. Okay, I'm going to just a couple things. So one more thing, just a reminder: if you're in Toronto and you wanna, or you're close to Toronto, and you wanna hang out on Monday night, I will post the link in the description here when I'm done. And I'll post it, I guess, on the locals as well. I've already posted it once before. Come to Toronto, and I'll do it in the Instagram too. Come to, go to my Twitter. You'll see the link for the Honking for Freedom book launch event tomorrow. And I wasn't going to read a chapter, but now I'm thinking maybe I will because there's a whole bunch of things going on. And so come to Toronto. Let's hang out. Let's get together. It's going to be in a comedy club. It's going to be fun. Ben Bankus is going to be doing a set there. Boardman will be there. A couple other people that were going to go to the original event that was canceled are no longer in Toronto. So we'll have to do another event with them another time. But it'll be lots of fun. Let's just hang out, get to know each other, spend a night, have some drinks, and have lots of fun and direct face-to-face time. And any questions you have about the convoy, I guess, or about the book or anything, let me know. That's what I'm there for. And let's just have an amazing night and hang out together and focus on all the good things and how life is despite all the Twilight Zone stuff. Things are starting to get a little bit back to normal, and we just got to further this process. And if we stick together and we support each other, then that's going to happen. It's only a matter of time, right? Okay, so I got to run. This was, an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, I got to run. This was way too long. I got to stop doing this. I love you guys. I love all of you for coming here. Yeah, the stupid plexiglass. It's annoying. Watching and listening from Chicago. Hey, awesome. That's where Stephen Hicks lives, outside of Chicago. And I've been meaning to go there for a while. Fi, brother, you're here. Oh, hey, listen, Fi. Should I do a... wash hands. Should I do a Twitter space tonight? I was trying to find some time if I can reach out to DJ and just do a Twitter. I can't do a really long one because I get so much on my plate right now. I'm burning out. But I don't know if you think I should. We'll do a little Rupa, who is a journalist here in Canada. She's amazing, and she's a friend. Spent some time with her in Ottawa on the weekend. She wants to learn about Bitcoin. So I told him, all right, consider yourself orange-pilled. So I want to do an orange pill with Rupa and get her up to speed on Bitcoin, because she could be a great voice if she likes it and understands it, which I'm sure she will. And so, yeah, I don't know if she would be available for a space tonight, but I know, since everybody's yelling at me on Twitter, like always, maybe I should do a space and we should do some sort of hangout. So you'll reach out to DJ. Okay, so reach out to DJ. I won't have a lot of time. I'll have like an hour. And I'm going to be on Cafe Bitcoin with Swan, Bitcoin, and Alex, and the rest of them. I think on the 11th. I got to check my calendar. But I'll be on with them this week as well. Rupa is amazing. Rupa is, you know why she's amazing? She's not towing anybody's line. She, like me, just compares about the truth. Alyssa, those are fighting words, Alyssa. Okay, Alyssa says Bitcoin is flunking. Alyssa, you need to, we're going to go down the rabbit hole. I love you, and you always give awesome comments, and I appreciate that. What I would just suggest is zoom out. I got into Bitcoin at $1,000, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and this is midway through a cycle, and I know. She says I'm asking. I know. I'm just playing with you. I'm just teasing. This is midway through a cycle. This is what always happens with Bitcoin. With each cycle, this is the same pattern that happens over and over again. So the people who loved Bitcoin at $69,000, who kept telling me, I wish I had more Bitcoin, this is the time to get it, because at the next halvening, you're going to see another price spike, just because more people will be getting into the network. So without getting too much into Bitcoin, we'll discuss that tonight. Alyssa, if you're on Twitter, come join, hang out. We'll put you on stage. They love talking to new people that are curious about Bitcoin. And if you have any questions, by the way, just send me a DM. And I always love helping people. Kiss Junkie, you're going to be there live on tomorrow, so I can talk to you about Bitcoin directly tomorrow. We can do a little bit of that because there's 2 chapters on Bitcoin and how it's the only money that got directly to the truckers, and that's why it's important. Lisa, I owned Bitcoin, but I sold it because I was supporting 2 teens, and they're really expensive. 100%, I get it. I don't feel bad. Everybody who bought Bitcoin sold it, made a profit, and now they're like, oh, I should have kept it longer. Like, that's not how life works, right? It is what it is. Bitcoin is not a joke. It's very serious. Yeah, it's the separation of money and state. And when you have people like Trudeau in office who will block your bank accounts, irrespective if you do anything illegal, you need to have that hedge. You need to have that freedom in case you're targeted, just like we were in Ottawa. Okay, Sonia, then consider yourself orange-pilled. We'll do our best to educate you. But it really is true freedom, and it's important. And the Freedom Convoy showed that, and that's why I put those 2 chapters in the book on Bitcoin so people could understand what was going on behind the scenes and why it was important. Okay, I got to run. We're in an hour. Oh, God, this is too long. An hour and 26 minutes. I apologize for taking up all your time, but thank you, everybody who's been here. And thank you for listening to me. If you have any further questions about the group of trolls attacking me and whatever, it's not their fault. Many of them are just political actors, and other people are just people who take the bait. And at the end of the day, the truth always prevails, and the truth is in the form of documents that have been submitted into the commission and will be on the government record forever. So the truth will always win. Okay, gotta run. Love y'all.